Hi, welcome to the Shiko Math Practice Lab, and this is the Algebra 2 lecture series, and this is our lesson 2.1. I'm very excited. We'll start a new chapter, chapter 2, and this chapter we will focus on the talk about the linear function. So before we start the section 2.1, we're going to talk about, we start to define what is a function, right? So we say the relation and the function. So that's what we're going to talk about in here. Okay, so before we even look at our worksheets, let's take a look what is the function. And I'm going to go to the whiteboard, and so we can take a look at what is the functions here. Okay, what is the relation? What is the function? Okay, so the function is here. We have like the function is kind of like you define the relation between the two groups here. So this is my first group, this is my second groups, right? So the function will say, hey, I'm defining some relation from here to here. So for examples here, right? So this one's here, this is the number of the hours you studied. Right, and here, this is the what? Here is your test grade. Right, so like if I have like sometimes I study 1 hour, somebody study 1.5 hours, somebody study 2 hours or 3 hours, right? Then the test grade I get is like maybe you got 80, 95, and 78, all right? So then you define the function. So like in here, so you say, okay, here, so if I study 1 hour, I get a 78, 1.5 hours, I get a 78 also. So the 2 hours, I get 80, and 3 hours, I get a 95. So this type of relation, so we know the relation defined that hours of the study and your test grade. So this type of relation we call is a function here, right? Okay, and so for these functions here, the first group in here, we call this is what? We call this a domain. So domain is your possible, the value of your inputs, right? So like the number of the hours and your test grade, right? And then here, this is what we call is the ranges here. Okay, so the range is the possible outcome of this function. So this type of relation we say is a function. But how about if this one's here? Okay, so I always like to use this example. So like this is like the boys, and this is like the girls, right? So if I have the boys here, and I have girls here, okay? So if we decide we are going to the homecoming dancings here, right? So each boy, they will find their, invite the girls here. So like if this boy invited this girl, this boy invited this girls, and then if this boy is here, this boy is here, so he will go with invited this one, and this boy is invited with this one's here. So for this type of the relation, we said that this is a relation we can say is the boy and the girls go to the homecoming dancing here. So for these boys here, if he invite the two girls, you can do that, right? You cannot do that because you cannot go to the dance with the two girls. So this is what we say, this is not a function here. Okay, so be careful here, right? So if you have ones here, you cannot go to the two girls because you cannot go to dance with the two girls. But how about in here, right? So if I have a boy and the girls, right? Okay, so for example, in other examples here, so I have this 1, 2, okay, I have 4 boys here. Okay, so like you can say, okay, I invited this boy, invited this boy invited this girl, and this boy invited this girl, and then this boy will invite this girl. So for this type of the things here, we said this is a function. It is a function, right? So this is a function. Why? Because for each boy, I invite one, and they can invite the same ones, right? And this girl need to decide which boy, she's going to go to the homecoming dance with. So from the boy to girl, this is a functions, right? Because the two boys can like the same girl, so they can invite the same girl. So later when we talk about the inverse function, so if we go backward from girls to boy, then it will not be a function here. Okay, so here, that's the first thing here is whatever you have in the domain, you can have only one in the range. See here, just like say every boy here, right? You can have only one girl. You can only invite one girl. And but it's possible for the two boys, they invited the same girl. So this is still, it's a function here. Okay, so for the function, we have defined the several things, right? So if this is the domain, this is the ranges, right? Okay, so if you have this situation, let's say here, if your function is defined as this, so each one's here, so for each elements here, they can only find one elements in the ranges, right? So this one, we call this is the 1-to-1. Right, so this one is the 1-to-1. So one boy, one girl, one boy, one girl, one boy, one girl, right? So this is, we call this the 1-to-1. And but then here I have 4 girls here, right? So I have one value, and like this one was nobody invited, but that's fine, right? So as long as, that's why we said that, the 1-to-1, that means one boy, one girl here, right? So one element in the domain, you get one element in the ranges here. Okay, so this is 1-to-1. So how about if I have a relation like this, right? So this is the domain, and this is the ranges here. So if my relations go like this way, so it's like this one, and this one. So still every elements in the, every elements in the domains, right? So they can find, they cover the one elements in the range. And also this function used all the value of ranges here. So this is what we call this the onto, right? So this is the 1-to-1 and the onto, right? So the onto, that means, every elements in the range, I have a value in the domain, so which kind of build these relations here, okay? So the key things here is, if it is a function, so every elements in the domain have to have one element in the range. So one element in the domain cannot have more than one elements in the ranges here. Okay. Okay. So now let's go to the the worksheets, and let's take a look here. Okay. Okay. So for these worksheets here, so we'll tell you here. Okay. So what is the 1-to-1? I have summarized in here. What is the 1-to-1? What is the onto function? What is the both 1-to-1 and ontos here? Okay. So now let's take a look at this example. So this worksheet is just like our previous all the worksheets here. I will do the problems on blue, and then you will have the exercise for you to do here. All right. So okay, let's take a look at these ones here. Okay, so in this ones here, it said here, state the domain. Okay, so state the domain and the range of each relations. Then determine that each relation is a function or not. If it's a function, determine it's one-to-one, onto, or both, or neither. All right. So in here, right? So here, the domains here is 100, 200, 300, right? So domain is the first thing. So you start with here, you build the relation. Range is 50, 100, and 150, right? So they already give us the domain, the ranges for here. And so based on this ones here, and because every elements in the domains, right? Every elements in the domain, I only have one value in the range. And all the values in here, right? So take a look, all the values here in the range has been covered. And also each one get only one. So this one's here is what? This is the one-to-one and onto, right? Okay, so this is a function, so we say yes, it is a function. Okay, so that's good. So let's take a look. The second problem is here. The second problem is in here. So the domain is 3, range is 1 and 5. Oh, I see here something in here, right? So one value here, what happened here? Hey, I have 2 values in the range. So is this is the functions? No, not a function. Right? So remember here, the functions here has to be one value, have one value in the range. It's like one boy cannot invite 2 girls to a homecoming, right? So that's why we said this is not a function. Okay, let's take a look at this one. This one's here is x equal to 1, 2, 3, y equal to 2, 4, 6. So this one's here, so the domains here is what? Is 1, 2, 3. And what is my range here? The range here is 2, 4, 6, right? So if you want to graph it, it's just like in here. So it's simple, like this is 1, 2, 3. Then this is 2, 4, 6, right? And so 1 go to 2, 2 go to 4, 3 go to 6. So this is a function? Yes, this is a function. Right, so this is a function. Okay, and what type of it is this? Is one-to-one? Yes, this is one-to-one. And this is onto? Do they cover all the value in the range? Yes, so this is onto. Okay, okay. So the number 4. This is a very good problem here. I want to put us, stars here. And so these ones here, they did not give us any value. And then they want to see, is this is a function? So remember the functions, right? So the x here, this is my domains, right? That means that every value, they can only have one y value, right? Y value, this is my ranges here, okay? So that means every value I can only have one range values here. So as you can see here, right? So if I have x equal to 6 here, let's see here, the x equal to 6. Then how many values I'm going to have? I'm going to have what? I'm going to have 2s, right? So I'm going to have 2 values because if you do, this is if you do a lines here, right? So if you do a lines here, that means for every x value, I have how many here? I have 2 y values here. So that means every number in the domain, you got a 2 in the range. So what is this one here? This is not a functions, right? So this is not a functions here. And also, if the people, if the problem give you a graph and want you decide this is a function, So this is what we have. We call this the vertical line test. That means you draw a vertical line perpendicular to the x-axis to see the graph you provide will touch at only 1 point or more than 1 point here. Like for here, this one is touch more than 1 point, right? So that's why, that's why we cannot, right? So we say this is not a functions here. Then in here, the same, the domains here, right? So the domains here is the x value. So the domain is what? Is x is from what? From 0 to 10, right? So this is the x value, and the range is here. What is the value of the range is here? So y is from -2 to 8, right? Because this is a circle. So this one's here is a kind of important. That's what we introduced. We call this a vertical line test, right? So the vertical line test, is for the problem if they give you is only a graph of that function. Then you can start like the vertical line, which is perpendicular to the x-axis to see this line touch like the 1 point or more than 1 point here. Okay, let's take a look at the example number 2 here, right? So let's say the graph each relation determine the domain ranges here. Then determine whether relation is a function. If it's a function, is 1-to-1 both or neither. Okay, so here, this is a different type of the problems here. So they give us is the point, right? So remember when they give us a pair, the first one is x's, right? So this is my x, this is my y's here. Okay, so now let's try to plot it. 2, -3s, right? 2, -3. So this is my first point. 2, 4. 2, 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 here. 2, -1 here. Oh boy, right? So okay, this is a function or not? No, because they are in a vertical lines, right? That means the same value of the x's, right? So x is the domain, and the y is the what? And the y is the range here, right? So in here, we know this one's here is not a function, right? Not a function. And the domains here is what? The domains here is a 2, right? That's the green one is the domain. And the range is here is a what? The range is here is a -3, 4, and -1. Okay, so now let's take a look at the 2, 6, and the 6, 2. Okay, so 2, 6 is 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's here, right? 6, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 2, 1, 2. So it's here. So for these 2 points, right? So, if you do the vertical line test, they are not on the same vertical line. So this is a function? Yes. And what is the domains here? Domains here is 2, 6. And the range is here is what? 6, 2. So it's 1-to-1, onto, or both. So this is both, right? Because it's 1-to-1 and it's onto. That means they cover all the ranges values here. Okay, now let's take a look at this one here. -3. Okay, so here, let's see here. -3 and 4. 3, 0 is here. 1, 2, 3. -3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 here. -2 and 4. -2, 1, 2, and 4. -1 and 1. -1, -1 is here. 3, -1. 1, 2, 3, 3, -1. All right. So the first we see, is this is the, you know, is this, did I just accidentally exit here? Oh, okay. Okay, so I'm back. I think I accidentally hit the button, the stop sharing button. Okay, so if you take a look, this is the functions? Yes, right? So this is yes, right? Why? Because if you do the, the vertical line test, none of the points are going to be on the same lines here. So this is the functions here. Okay, so now let's take a look at what is my domain. Remember, the domain is the x value, is the first values here. Okay, so the domain is -3, -2, -1, and the 3 here. And the range here is what? The range is what value? The y values, right? Okay. So the range here is what? The ranges here is 4 and the -1. So I know this one is here is what? This one is untruth, right? Why is untrue? Because the several numbers like -3, -2, they both go to 4, right? And the -1, 3 goes to -1. So it covered every element in the range. So it's untrue, but it's not the 1-to-1 because both -3 and -2 go to 4. All right? Correct? Okay, good. Okay, so now these ones here, so they say x equal to 2. Oh, x equal to 2 or -2 here, right? So x equal to -2, so it's here -2. And because x equal to -2, that means everything on here is satisfied. X equal to the -2 here, right? So now this is a function? No, right? So we say, what is here? This is no, not a function. Why? It's because it failed the vertical line test, because if you put a vertical line here, right? So it has so many points on the vertical line. So remember, if it's a function, it has to pass the vertical line test here. So this is not a function. Okay, so this is it for our first sections here. We just introduce a very basic concept. It's a function, all right? So remember, function is every number in the domain, you can only have one value in the range, all right? So you cannot have two values in the range with only one value in the domain. That means that any number in the domain cannot have two values in the range. If that relationship exists, then that relation is not a function here. All right, so that's it. This is a very easy sections, and but it's kind of like we talk about the fundamental concept, right? Okay, so now we will be able to go to our next sections here. So it's okay, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to talk to you about section 2.2. Okay, so don't forget to take a look at the practice problems here for you, and then to decide what you think. And so here is the similar problem, just like the example we did here, right? Okay, so it's so nice to talk to you, and I'm looking forward to continue this chapter, the linear function chapters here. Okay, that's it. And you guys have a good day, and hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe to the video, and so every time a new video is posted, you will get notified. Okay, also if you have any question or request, feel free to send me an email at shikomathslab@gmail.com, which I have the email address at the beginning introduction slide. It's so nice to talk to you, and looking forward to talk to you again. Okay, bye.